Dumbledore knew what happened to Harry. Dumbledore's all like, oh, no, my guesses are just usually good. And Harry's all like, okay, that's enough. Well, not for us. Hey, brother. Okay, so one of the fairly large unanswered Harry Potter questions out there is, how did Dumbledore actually know what happened at the Potter house on the night that Voldemort attacked Harry as a baby? Unexpected answer, nanny cam. Who knew? Help is on the way, dear! Muggle technology strikes again. But no, he seems to have it confirmed all by the very next night and concludes that Voldemort has indeed been temporarily defeated, which he tells Professor McGonagall. That's not all. They're saying he tried to kill the Potter's son, Harry, but he couldn't. He couldn't kill the little boy. No one knows why or how, but they're saying that when he couldn't kill Harry Potter, Voldemort's powers somehow broke, and that's why he's gone. Dumbledore nodded glumly. Also, I was seriously teetering between, like, I don't even know what they're, like, Scottish Dobby at best.
Ach, lang me your lumdick me a moose nearly you'd gurn away a teardrop in his eye. Hey, she back, wee lassie.
Now, you might rightly point out that just one sentence later, McGonagall asks the million-dollar question, and Dumbledore admits that he doesn't know. But how in the name of heaven did Harry survive? We can only guess, said Dumbledore. We may never know. What he fails to finish saying, though, is, well, I actually do have a pretty solid theory that I can test in like a couple of minutes. Just give me a sec. Because we know that Dumbledore doesn't just leave Harry on the Dursleys' doorstep that night. He also casts the ever so specific Bond of Blood charm on Harry, which in a nutshell keeps Harry safe from Voldemort as long as he stays at the house of a blood relative of someone who died performing sacrificial love on Harry.
It's like he's trying to speak to me, I know it!
I have to like brush up on what sacrificial love is every time because it's so weird. So when the spell successfully works, Dumbledore can then safely assume that Lily is the one who cast sacrificial love and died for Harry because the bond of blood works at her sister's house. He can also surmise that the casting of sacrificial love is what caused the spell to backfire on Voldemort, thus causing him to be blasted to smithereens. See? It all works, right? And yet, no, that does answer a lot of questions, but still not how Dumbledore knows about the sacrificial love as a charm in the first place. You see, because he's responding to these circumstances in real time and already knows what to do. Probably didn't pull out like a pamphlet on ancient love and be like, oh yes, it's probably this. If Harry is the only known person to survive the killing spell ever, then how is Dumbledore supposed to have even read about how this spell works? Well, thanks to some lovely questions from our patrons over on Through the Gryffindor, I think we may have gotten to the bottom. Hey, brother! Y'all, we need to take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, MeUndies. Y'all, with Valentine's Day just over on the horizon, now today is the moment to do the truly thoughtful thing and get ahead with MeUndies. Think about it, MeUndies can not only be a thoughtful and totally useful gift that feels appropriate under the Valentine's Day umbrella, but if you're really clever, you'll go for their matching sets. You get to be, adorable and know you're all matchy-matchy and reap the benefits of MeUndies' unmatched comfort for yourself. And honestly, even if you're just shopping for yourself, my pro tip, go with the prints, not the classic colors. Because I personally feel like I've gone back and forth between blacks and grays and stuff like that, and then colorful styles in my life. And there's simply no doubt about it, when you're rocking dinosaurs or rocket ships or heck, narwhals, you're simply destined to have a bit more pep in your step. Like this, just imagine. Regular rocket ships. That could be you. This Valentine's Day, good things come in big packages at MeUndies. Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/super. Enter promo code SUPER. That's MeUndies.com/super, code SUPER for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in. Quick shout out to Peter Hansley, who asked the question that headed us down this particular path, which, not for nothing, I would wager is very likely what would have happened in the Fantastic Beasts saga had it ever been completed, or good. I mean, I loved the first one and analyzed the second one to death, but I guess at least we'll always have salamanders.
Salamanders.
Oh, she read his book. Also, I got to meet Catherine Waterston once, and she was super nice. And Alison Sudol was there, and then I almost backed into Zoe Kravitz and almost knocked her over. It was a super weird day. I had a migraine, and I was afraid I was going to throw up on Dan Fogler's shoes.
But I don't talk about that. I didn't get rid of
Dan Fogler
by smiling at him.
Anyway, how does Dumbledore know about sacrificial love? Well, I think it's because he, like Harry, had it cast upon him. The Harry Potter saga features a lot of kind of confusing brands of magic that have unique exceptions to the usual rules, something that I think could have been overcomplicated if there wasn't just so much time dedicated to helping us to understand all the various ins and outs. But there's things like twin cores, priori incantatem, the bond of blood, sacrificial love, obscurials, and, the Deathly Hallows that were maybe or maybe not created by Death himself. But speaking of the Deathly Hallows, let's start there, specifically with the Elder Wand. We know eventually that Dumbledore becomes the master of this most powerful wand after winning it from its previous master, Gellert Grindelwald, in their legendary duel. But that duel in particular is fraught with mixed information, unusual sources, and bits of magic that just don't seem to add up. Like, for example, when we first hear about it all, it's on the back of a chocolate frog card, which, okay, I guess I have to take it at its word, but probably not the most reliable source of information. But then the next time that we hear about this, it's in The Life of Lies of Albus Dumbledore, written by Rita Skeeter, notoriously slanted journalist and general disliker of Dumbledore. "Enchantingly nasty," said Dumbledore, his eyes twinkling. "I particularly enjoyed your description of me as an obsolete dingbat." Rita Skeeter didn't look remotely abashed. And according to her, there wasn't even a duel at all. All I'll say is don't be so sure that there really was the spectacular duel of legend. After they've read my book, people may be forced to conclude that Grindelwald simply conjured a white handkerchief from the end of his wand and came quietly. But then, in King's Cross, Dumbledore tells Harry, "Well, you know what happened next. I won the duel, I won the wand." Okay, so there was a duel then, or was even that conversation just happening inside of Harry's head? You see the issue? Not good information. We're dealing with chocolate frog cards and a potentially dead boy here. And Rita Skeeter. What all sources seem to agree on, though, is that whatever did happen, Dumbledore won and Grindelwald lost, and Dumbledore got the wand. And this is as true as we are able to assume, because Draco disarms Dumbledore, but is then disarmed by Harry, who then becomes master even though Voldemort killed Snape, and we know Harry is master because he repairs the Holly Wand.
It's mine.
Like I said, barely complicated, but you all get it. Dumbledore winning the duel doesn't even make sense, does it? Because, lest you recall, Grindelwald had the Elder Wand, the unbeatable wand! Unbeatable! Unbreakable! Sure, Dumbledore says even Grindelwald acknowledged that Dumbledore was perhaps a shade better. But I'd like to think that the Elder Wand would give you more than a shade's worth of advantage, right? Heck, he may have even sought out the Elder Wand specifically because of the shadiness. Shadiness!
Very good, Baron!
In fact, we can be fairly certain that it's not until after the boys made their blood pact that he went on to seek out the Elder Wand, because of this scene in Crimes of Grindelwald where they're both actually wielding different wands. Fun fact though, even though this is the design that they landed on for Dumbledore's first wand, it was originally going to look like this, but was changed after they shot the movie for reasons. Our theory is that they changed it because it looked too much like the Elder Wand, which may have too heavily foreshadowed a future plot point that Dumbledore's wand shared a core with the Elder Wand. And if that was true, it means that when Dumbledore and Grindelwald dueled, they would have forced a priori incantatem kind of situation like Harry and Voldemort did in the graveyard, and guess what? That totally happens in Secrets of Dumbledore.
Oh, you don't see it?
Fine, you know what? I'll put them side by side for you, because you know what? It's definitely what's happening! This detail was leading me to believe that the situation between Harry and Voldemort was almost a magical echo sounding off through time, with many of the same circumstances between Harry and Voldemort having already also existed between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Hence, why Dumbledore is able to pick up on them so easily. Actually, what makes it even weirder is that the first and only really significant piece of information that we have about Dumbledore and Grindelwald is that their famous duel takes place in 1945. Again, thanks to the highly scientific chocolate frog card, as if science plays any significant role in history.
I don't see why you can't just teach us history instead of always harping on the past.
However, for some reason, Fantastic Beasts
Battlestar Galactica.
However, for some reason, Fantastic Beasts starts 19 years prior in 1926, a significant year because it happens to be the same year that Voldemort himself is born. Like, it's almost starting to feel a little bit like some kind of magical battle is finding its hosts through time, one generation after the next. The timing is otherwise utterly bewildering, but the fun doesn't stop there. Because if Dumbledore knew about Priori Incantatem by experiencing it firsthand, what if that's how he also knew about sacrificial love? Consider this. The Fantastic Beasts series is pitched to us, and while at first it seems like it's going to be about Newt Scamander, it very quickly becomes the Albus Dumbledore story. The problem with that particular narrative is that we, as hardcore and seasoned Harry Potter fans, know exactly how it's going to end. Like we said earlier, duel in 1945, Dumbledore wins, possible white flag. The one detail that we again can't understand is how or why Dumbledore can ultimately exit this duel triumphant if the duel even happens at all. But another scene that seems to echo backwards or forwards, depending on your perspective, is that between Harry, Lily, and Voldemort. In this scene, we know that Voldemort is entering the Potter's house, kills James, who is unarmed right away, and ventures upstairs to kill Harry. But not before stopping to totally blow up the commode, am I right? Dark Lord's gotta poop. Can you imagine all the robes? He's just gotta be like... But then, per his commitment to Snape, he offers Lily the chance to live, something that is vitally important to how the sacrificial love protection comes into effect. You can't simply die for someone, you need to have been given the chance to live and choose death anyway. And Lily, being an incredible person and loving mother, does this no hesitation, and the powerful enchantment is enacted, and even Avada Kedavra isn't enough to break through. So the spell rebounds, and Voldemort is very nearly defeated, if not for his Horcruxes. So the question is, was there someone there to die for Dumbledore? And I'm sure you don't have to search very far for the answer. Yes, the person present that we literally know dies. Ariana.
Let's not quarrel.
Note that Dumbledore tells Harry that he never knew which of them had cast the spell that killed her. It was the truth I feared, you see. I never knew which of us in that last horrific fight had actually cast the curse that killed my sister. I think he knew it. I think he knew what frightened me. And stick with me for this one, but Dumbledore didn't know, but is afraid that Grindelwald did. I think Grindelwald knew too, but what he knew is not what Dumbledore feared. I think that he knew the truth, that he, Grindelwald, had killed Ariana, but he also knew that it came at a terrible cost to his cause. And here is where we enter into the realm of educated guesswork, but not any that I personally find to be too much of a reach. Specifically that wizards of this caliber, even Voldemort, have plundered the depths of ancient magic so thoroughly that they are aware of sacrificial love. His mother left upon him the traces of her sacrifice. This is old magic. I should have remembered it. I was foolish to overlook it. But no matter, I can touch him now. The real question is, did he solve the pooping problem? These are the questions, people. You know poo! The constipation sensation that's gripping the nation. The use of gripping. It's too much. But then we also know that ancient magic doesn't seem to mean old magic, but almost a field of magic unto itself, and Dumbledore can do it. Dumbledore invoked an ancient magic to ensure the boy's protection as long as he is in his relation's care. Not even I can touch him there. Heck, we can actually even tie both of these sentiments together in one. But I knew too where Voldemort was weak, and so I made my decision. You would be protected by an ancient magic of which he knows, which he despises, and which he has always, therefore, underestimated to his cost. Point is, it's likely enough that Grindelwald also at least knew of sacrificial protection, and if we go to Dumbledore suffering in the cave, I think we get a glimpse into what was happening in the three-way duel. Don't hurt him! Please, it's my fault! Hurt me instead! Kill me! Harry interprets this correctly to Aberforth a year later. The night that your brother died, he drank a potion that drove him out of his mind. He started screaming, pleading with someone who wasn't there. Don't hurt them. Please, hurt me instead. He thought he was watching Grindelwald hurting you and Ariana. It was torture to him. If you'd seen him then, you wouldn't say he was free. So I can imagine what happened. Grindelwald was winning the duel and torturing Aberforth and Ariana while Albus pleaded with him. Eventually, Grindelwald gives into the pleas and turns to kill Dumbledore, only for Ariana to intervene. He casts her aside, saying that she doesn't need to die, but she chooses to anyway. Her death, of course, causes a huge Obscurus explosion that casts doubt on what actually happened for everyone involved because suddenly chaos was everywhere. The explosion causes Grindelwald to flee before he ever gets a chance to cast the Vada Kedavra at Albus, and yet it wouldn't have worked if he had. Albus is protected, always and forever, against Grindelwald, and Grindelwald knows it. Sit with that for a second. Because you know what? Honestly, that was heavy. Let's just, stretch it out for a second here. Do some lunges. Okay, so what is the significance? Most notably, what is the significance of Grindelwald knowing that Dumbledore is protected? Well, for one, they're dueling here, which they couldn't do if the blood pact was in place. And if we know anything about Grindelwald, it's that he's got a silver tongue.
So we removed his tongue.
Meaning the blood pact couldn't be created until after Ariana's death. Right?
Right!
If so, it would mean that Grindelwald, who knows that Dumbledore might be the only person in the world more powerful than him, cannot attack him. It's a pretty smart defense, but he doesn't stop there, and not by half, because he's witnessed the power of the Obscurus, a magical force unlike anything that they've seen before, something potentially even more powerful than the both of them. And he has had the same problem Voldemort has. Dumbledore is just too powerful. So Grindelwald can't attack Albus, and Albus can't attack him back. But what if he seeks out a weapon, namely Credence, who is powerful enough to defeat him? Because why else go for Credence at all when you already have the Elder Wand? Well, because he knows that Dumbledore is protected by sacrificial love, so he suggests the love pact so that Dumbledore can't come after him. And he uses that time to go and collect the Elder Wand in an effort to bolster himself against Dumbledore. But since the blood pact is in effect, he needs a different weapon unless it's destroyed, so he looks for Credence. But guess what? Credence isn't powerful enough and eventually turns on him because of, wait for it, love. Dumbledore and Grindelwald eventually duel, and yes, it's epic. Perhaps it goes on for ages, but it's fruitless. Perhaps the power of the Elder Wand does give Grindelwald the advantage, and he gains an opening for a killing shot, but instead realizes the truth. He simply cannot win. And unlike Voldemort, he remembers the old magic and knows that even the Elder Wand isn't going to outmatch Ariana's sacrifice. If he attacks, he dies. If he doesn't, he loses. Thus, the white flag. And, well, you know what happened next. I won the duel, I won the wand. That's how Rita Skeeter's story is actually accurate, and what happened on that fateful day when Ariana died, why Grindelwald sought out an Obscurus, and how Dumbledore defeated the unbeatable wand. And maybe most importantly of all, how Dumbledore knew what happened to Harry, because it almost happened to him. Guys, there you go. This was honestly one that sort of like came out of us in just like pure Harry Potter conversation, which in my personal opinion is the best way to experience the fandom. Jay and I have having so much fun talking about this all day today. So thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like this video if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future Harry Potter action from us. If you'd like to see more of like Dumbledore's big plan where he knows all of the information and is pulling all of those levers all through Harry's life, you can check out this big video right over here. But otherwise, until next time, bye.